Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for being here on this May day here in central New York with the snow. Let's get into some information, some updates, and then we'll take some questions. Unfortunately, we've lost 4 more people to COVID-19 over the last 24 hours. 3 individuals who are in the hospitals. I'll share a little bit of information on those individuals. One was a female in her 70s, under another race. One was a Caucasian woman in her 50s. One was a Caucasian woman in her 70s. All 3 of our neighbors had underlying medical conditions. This brings the community total of deaths in hospitals to 47. We lost another individual in a nursing home since yesterday. Again, we just don't have the demographic information on who these individuals are. Obviously, we lost one person in the last 24 hours, but the other neighbors of ours that we've lost, we just don't know specifically when they passed. So we now have lost 22 neighbors in nursing homes. Our total death count today from COVID-19 is 69 people. So certainly we want to think about them, their families. It's not lost on me that we lost 3 women, and they could have been celebrating Mother's Day tomorrow. So let's just pray for them and grieve with them as a community. Related to testing, another busy day of testing yesterday. We have 16,069 tests that have been administered. 15,465 tests have been returned. We received 239 tests yesterday. We now have 1,329 positive cases. That's up 43 cases from yesterday. And 14,136 negative cases. We have 604 pending tests. We did a lot of proactive testing yesterday. I believe what we're going to start seeing is our proactive testing numbers. We started our strategy going into assisted living facilities for our seniors because we know what this virus does to our seniors. And we went to buildings that had COVID cases first. We've found positives. We've found asymptomatic individuals, light symptom people. We've isolated those people, which certainly the strategy has worked to save lives. But when we're starting to implement proactive testing in other pockets of the community, we probably won't find COVID at the same percentages we have been testing on. So we're doing a lot of proactive testing now in independent living facilities. We're going to be working with the Syracuse Housing Authority. We will eventually work in neighborhood by neighborhood where we're either seeing potential trends of cases or enough data that shows there could be a trend, or we'll be going into neighborhoods where we just haven't got enough information and we haven't seen enough testing being done in that neighborhood or a demographic as we go forward using proactive testing as a tool to give us information so we can make informed public policy with that. Again, we sent 677 tests yesterday. Part of Restart conversation is as a region you need about 700 tests done on a daily basis. We did 677 in Onondaga County alone yesterday. So certainly we had a busy day. Right now, 8.6% of our results are positive. That went up a little bit from yesterday. We'll get into who our positives are in a minute, but certainly we got positives in, and we haven't gotten the negatives in from the state health department for yesterday's results yet. So that's probably skewed our data a little bit. But certainly, I do want to reference that tomorrow, being Sunday, we won't be here. We will be celebrating Mother's Day. And so will our partners at the Syracuse Community Health Center. So they will be closed tomorrow and probably on Sundays moving forward as well. When we look at hospitalizations, We told everybody some of the increases in the numbers were a moment in time. Happy to report we were right. 52 individuals are now in the hospital. This is down 12 from yesterday, representing 9% of our active cases. So here's the headline. We always write headlines when we go up. We understand that. Let's make sure we have a nice headline about how we went down almost 20% in hospitalizations in one day. That's my challenge to our partners in the media. We now have 11 people in critical condition, down 2 from yesterday. This number represents 2% of our active cases. Out of our 52 individuals in the hospital, here's a breakdown on information: 33 Caucasian, 12 African American, 5 of another race, and 2 individuals have declined to share demographic data. To date, we have had 165 people that have been released from the hospital. This is up 13 from yesterday. So a status check on some of our stats. We've had 1,329 positive cases since March 16th. That number is up 43 cases today. We are presently monitoring 588 active cases. That number is up 27 cases from yesterday. We now have 694 people who have recovered from COVID-19. That number is up 13 from yesterday. That's a good number too. We have 195 people out of our positive total that are household contacts. This is up 7 from yesterday. So out of our 43, 7 household contacts. Why is that significant or different? These are individuals that have already been in a quarantine for the most part. Their ability to infect the community at large does not exist. So we've always known and baked into our infrastructure that once we have a positive, if people live in that building or that apartment or that house with somebody, there's a greater risk for another household member to get COVID-19. They're in a quarantine, so the risk to the community at large is limited. So that's 7. 21 of our cases are related to senior living facilities, the majority of those coming from nursing homes. So when we look at our 43 cases, 28 are from contacts or affiliations, 15 community spread. So our community spread number, we're starting a new week of community spread, 7-day rolling average. It was 19 last week. The first day of this week, 15. So down a little bit. We'll see if that holds up. We hope it does. About over 2/3 of our cases are now related to affiliations and contacts. And so that's going to be interesting to see if that holds up. At some point, the testing in the nursing homes where we know we've had spread are going to be done. You've tested everybody. The assisted living facilities are done. We're going to be proactively testing the employees still, because that's still a way that infection can get into the buildings. So it'll be interesting to see in the next really week to week and a half if these affiliated cases drop off significantly. We hope they do. We'll continue to be testing in independent living facilities, but these facilities haven't seen the outbreak or the infection rates like other buildings have to date. So we now have 1,330 people in isolation and quarantine. Again, those quarantine numbers would be much higher if these were not individuals who were already isolated and essentially quarantined anyways. So we'll work through those. And again, a reminder on recoveries, the rules in this process have changed on when someone's officially deemed recovery and they're out of isolation. Most of our cases are now seniors that are active cases. It was you needed 7 days of no symptoms and 3 days of no fever. Then you're a recovery. You're allowed out of isolation. That has changed to 14 days. That changed mid-process. So our active cases used to be a very good indicator of where we were. Not so much anymore because the rules have changed with that. So that's some data over there. When we look at our cases, who they were, who they are. 771 females, 558 males. 41 have been under 19 years of age. 220 in their 20s. 165 in their 30s. 174 in their 40s. 213 in their 50s. 184 in their 60s. 144 in their 70s. 123 in their 80s. And 65 in their 90s. A breakdown by percentage. 20% are under 30, 32% are under 40, 45% under 50, 61% under 60, and 39% over 60 years of age. Breakdown by municipality. 707 cases are total cases, City of Syracuse, 306 recoveries. Clay, 109 total cases, 78 recoveries. Onondaga, 93 total cases, 28 recoveries. Manlius, 62 total cases, 45 recoveries. DeWitt, 61 total cases, 39 recoveries. Salina, 57 total cases, 38 recoveries. Cicero, 49 total cases, 30 recoveries. Gaddis, 49 total cases, 21 recoveries. Camillus, 42 total cases, 33 recoveries. Lysander, 29 total cases, 20 recoveries. Pompey, 23 total cases, 20 recoveries. Skinny Atlas, 15 total cases, 13 recoveries. Van Buren, 10 total cases, 4 recoveries. Marcellus, 6 cases, 4 recoveries. Atisco, 5 cases, 4 recoveries. Lafayette, 5 cases, 3 recoveries. Elbridge, 2 cases and 2 recoveries. Fabius, 2 cases and 2 recoveries. Spafford, 2 cases and 2 recoveries. And Tully, 2 cases and 2 recoveries. Gap in an investigation. We have one. Let's go over this. We had a Central bus operator recently tested positive for COVID-19. The bus operator last worked on May 4th, 2020. The operator was separated from close contact with most customers, meaning 6 feet or more. Due to Central's recently imposed practice of having customers board using the rear door and restricting access near the front of the bus. So the driver's driving, most people are getting on in the back of the bus. 2 passengers did board using mobility devices. These 2 passengers did come in close contact with the driver during the boarding process. If you are one of these people who received assistance from the driver, the health department is requesting that you call for guidance and essentially self-quarantine. Each of these passengers and the bus operator was wearing a face mask at all times. Central continues to disinfect each day its buses and many buses more than once a day using a germicidal disinfectant. The bus operator drove the following bus routes. April 30th. Again, we know they last worked on May 4th. We're going back days on this specifically to be very conservative about this. Route 123, the James Street, Syracuse to Walmart, 11:40 to 1 p.m. We had 1 passenger using a mobility device board this bus. Certainly, we would ask them to contact the health department and or self-quarantine. Route 226, South Ave to OCC, April 30th, 1 p.m. to 2:20 p.m. Route 123, James to Syracuse Walmart, 2:20 p.m. to 3:40 p.m. We had another passenger using a mobility device board the bus. Again, we asked that them contact us at the health department and certainly to self-quarantine. On May 1st, 2020, this same bus operator was also operating some routes. Route 410, Nedrow, 11:40 to 1 p.m. Route 116, North Salina, 7th North, Destiny, USA, 1 to 2:20. And Route 410 to Nedrow, 2:20 to 3:40. We don't believe that someone used a mobility device, meaning they got in the bus on the front of the bus, had close contact with the driver. on these routes. But if you're on those bus, even though a mask was being worn, let's be very cognizant of our symptoms. Let's take our temperature, and certainly if you have questions, contact your doctor. Certainly, physical distancing. Everyone knows what we should do. Everybody should know the rules. 6 feet. If you're within 6 feet, a mask. Masks at stores. We've had lots of complaints about individuals not wearing masks at certain stores. Happy to report that Walmart in East Syracuse, we talked to their management. We have given them lots of masks. So they'll be giving out these masks to folks that are shopping if they don't have one. That's the right thing to do. That's what our neighbors want you to do. Obviously, some people can't wear them if they have respiratory illness, but we did talk to Walmart, and we're thankful that they are doing that. Restart, again, we have or will have met all of the 7 guidelines put forward by the state for restart. Essentially, I believe we have now when you look at our testing data over the last 7 days. So we are poised for a restart May 15th, and so we can take any questions related to that. We continue to work with our regional partners on ways we can work together moving forward in this next phase, and how we can work together with our health departments, emergency management departments. But we hope we continue to have conversations with the state of New York, the governor's office and his team, and we're eager to get things going in a safe, controlled way in phase 1. Questions?
Going off of the restart topic, Thursday, Governor Cuomo extended New York on pause as a procedural movement until June 6th. But can you give reassurance to Central New Yorkers that this doesn't necessarily impact our regional restart?
I can give reassurance that we're ready to go. I believe the emergency order that the legislature gave the governor gives him pretty broad authority on this topic, and the President of the United States gave governors pretty broad authority on this topic. So from the standpoint, is Onondaga County, Central New York, ready to go? Yes, we could go this week. So we're ready to go. We've met our benchmarks. There's been recognition from the state that we've done well. We haven't been impacted like the rest of the state. So when you look at, when we talked about putting forward our plans to the state as a region, there was always what the plan looked like, but the when we first started, there was still a little bit of work we needed to get done. We share everything with the state. The state looks through how they can look at this process through regionally, but you can't have one set of rules different for one region as another region. And they come out with their guidelines, what they want to see from the when, what triggers the when. We have met those. We have the tracers. Our hospitalization capacity is there. Our hospitalization rates are very good. And when you look at the testing, they changed the goalposts in the middle of the game there on testing. That's okay. We were proactively testing. And if you look at the last 7 days, our Onondaga County has basically done almost enough testing for the whole region to meet those. So we did enough testing yesterday to meet the new goals by ourselves for the region. All the other counties were still doing testing. And the state was doing testing in nursing homes. And there's other testing, I'm sure, that was happening that I don't even know about. So we've met the metrics that are in our control. And we believe our region is poised for restart phase 1.
So those small businesses that are impacted by this, we've gotten a couple calls of small business owners who are worried and needed that reassurance from you. So you can confidently say that these small businesses who are part of phase 1 and eventually a part of phase 2 as well, they should be confident in how things are going.
Their local the local response has put us in a position where we will be able. There's no doubt we have met what we need to do. I believe the governor still has the final stamp on when that goes, but we've met the guidelines set by the state. So why we wouldn't be allowed to go on May 15th, I have no clue why that would ever happen. So now when you go into phase 2, remember phase 1, you're testing the virus. You're bringing back so many more people to work, and you need to make sure that you don't see spikes in hospitalization rates or spikes in, if you see drastic spikes in cases, that could potentially lead to hospitalization rates. So we're very interested in our tracking on what more density to the virus at this point in time, what it means. Is the virus weakening a little bit, or is it not? We don't know that. So we know we're giving the virus more opportunities to spread by putting more people back to work. That's what we have to do. We have to learn how to live with this virus. And but if things go well in phase 1, then phase 2 happens 2 weeks later. If things don't go well in phase 1, phase 2 might take a little bit longer before it happens. So specifically, Adrian, to those small business owners, if they're in phase 1, we've done everything we can to meet the goals and the rules in front of us. We've met them. Now, we just got to get to the date, and we believe the state wants, the state wants us to get going too. It's each region is different though.
It's not a restart stat, but the number of deaths this week, I think we hit a record, even when you take out the 19 that were kind of dropped in on us. How do you kind of square the mortality that's increasing in some ways with the enthusiasm to get everybody back to work and restart?
So, Doug, the one thing that I am is transparent and straightforward, so I'm going to be very straightforward on this. What has happened with the mortality rates is directly tied to who's getting sick. And this isn't going to change. We're going to lose more life because of the buildings that this virus has found its way into. These are people who, significant medical conditions, many of them, and they now have a virus that preys on them more. So it's very upsetting. But if we did not, in the beginning of this process, we didn't have this issue. Remember, we were talking about 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, and then at one point, our demographic of 50-year-olds, which is still high, really started. That's where we started seeing this. This is a recent development, and because of who it's impacting, the reality is that we're going to lose more people, and that's what it is. We didn't have people in their 90s with this at one point. We didn't have people with their 80s at one point. So now we do. We have people. Many of these people have medical conditions, and this virus has invaded their homes.
You've addressed this before, but those 19 that were dropped in the middle of the week and just out of nowhere, it seemed. Have you been able to get any more information from the state, who these people were, when they died, gender, any of the information that you provide? And all the
no, we haven't. Certainly, I think the State Department of Health should provide that information, but we have not received it yet.
So before those 19 were counted, those could have happened over the course of 2 months, over a week, a few days. We don't know. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would. My assumption would be they have not happened throughout the period of 2 months or since March 16th, because I don't believe we had cases in these buildings in the first half of this process. If we did, they were limited. My guess is this is a last 30, 45 day type problem.
For these companies or operations that are part of phase 1 going to be opening, have they been notified by your office, or are they awaiting to be notified by your office?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is I think the state certainly is going to give out some good guidelines on how does this work now. and so that so I think we're going to wait on the state to do that, because again, you can't have Onondaga County and Madison County and Cayuga, Cortland, and Oswego can't have their own set of guidelines, and then Long Island has their own set, and then Hudson and Western. So we need the state to do that. So we're waiting on that. Once the state does that, and that will give businesses an understanding of what is expected of them, how they can operate safely. Certainly, we're going to encourage businesses to have lots of hand sanitizer, masks, physical distancing. Certainly, allowing employees who have documented underlying medical conditions potentially work from home as long as they can is a good idea. So there's different things, and we've been communicating with our own businesses. I was on Center State CEO had me on a Zoom call yesterday with over 300 different businesses, talking about what's going on, talking about what normal is going to look like for them, how they can operate safely. But certainly, nothing can be more disruptive to a business if you're operating, especially a small business, and you have customers coming in. You don't know where those customers were, who they're hanging out with, and they come in, and all of a sudden you employ 10 people and you lose 4 of them to COVID, right? You're right back almost where you were before on the sidelines. So business has to put forward really strong safety and sanitizing protocols to protect their workforce.
In terms of essential employees and those employees getting ready to go back to work, for those who do want to get tested for COVID-19, we know that the state has been encouraging essential workers and those who are going to go back to work to get tested. How do people do that in Onondaga County? Can you just go through that?
Yeah, so if you're deemed essential today, you can use the Walmart site and go online and check that box and go use that site. Right now, with our proactive testing, we've built in our infrastructure over the last week or so. So we would direct most people, if you're going, well, it would be the 15th or 16th when they would go back to work. But we would direct most people that way. Testing is a moment in time. You test negative today, doesn't mean you can't get it. So that's why you do the proactive testing to try to find the pockets. But usually positive cases through your contact tracing, you'll find the story about where you need to do the proactive testing. So we just want to remind people that it's not a security blanket. That's why you don't have a reg saying everybody going back to work has to get tested, is because you can't test enough people and then box everybody out from the community coming in to be able to make this really work that way. So that's why you got to do the proactive testing. That's why you do the tracing, how critical that is to all of this. But Walmart's site, if you're deemed essential at this time, healthcare workers, EMS providers, go online, just check that box, schedule the appointment. Other questions?
Going back to the death statistics, obviously the nursing home deaths came in this week. Are there any other areas or pockets that could be out there that wouldn't have been picked up either through nursing homes, the hospitals, or some other way?
Yeah, I think, even when you add in the new death statistics, I think we're still one of the best communities that's fared with this. I think we were the best before you throw what's happened this week into that. I don't know where we stand now. But we know what it does to our elderly and our sick. That's why we're doing everything we can to proactively test in buildings where our elderly are. And so the mortality rates and who they are, they don't really tell much of a story other than it attacks our seniors, and it attacks our seniors who are sick even worse. We have had a couple cases where we've lost neighbors who did not have underlying medical conditions, but I believe those are literally a couple cases, in every other situation, these are folks who had underlying medical conditions, many of them being seniors with underlying medical conditions, and now many being folks who lived in nursing homes.
Do you know how many of the asymptomatic or light symptomed nursing home patients who were at hospitals have been since transferred to the nursing home that's taking them?
I don't know the number. I believe it's quite a few, though, Doug, from yesterday, why you see the discharge numbers going down, right? That number went up artificially because you had at least one facility still dropping off individuals who tested positive, whether they needed to be in a hospital or not. Again, most people that test positive out of our active cases aren't in a hospital, right? We have 52 out of 500 something, right? So 10%. Everybody else is at home, wherever home is. So that's why it was problematic when, a home for individuals, they test positive, they're being moved from their home just because they are now sick. So what we've done is we have other larger facilities creating more capacity to treat COVID-19 patients and allow them to stay in their facility till they get better. And so we got some of that corrected yesterday. We also had more recoveries too. More people just got better yesterday too.
I'm sure you've heard, but there's a mysterious inflammatory syndrome that's being found in children, and they believe that it is associated with COVID-19. But I was just wondering, has there been any reported cases of that in children here in Onondaga County?
No. And the impact to date on COVID-19 with kids has been minimal. A lot of the under 19 breakdown are folks who are independent, 18, 19 years old, 17 years old. And the other element of this with kids under 12 are really related to household contacts. So their mom or dad gets it, grandma gets it, and then they end up getting it. And a lot of the household contacts are now situations where it's very hard to isolate in the home. The home's not large enough to isolate. So that's what's driving some of the contacts. But we have not seen that. Knock on wood, we won't. This virus to date hasn't impacted our young people, specifically our little people, the way it certainly has, the other end of our community is vulnerable, our seniors with medical conditions. Other questions? Tomorrow is Mother's Day. Moms are the backbone of our community, and hopefully everybody will get to enjoy that. I know it's tough not being able to celebrate Mother's Day the way that we normally do, so I'm cognizant of that, but I want to wish all moms a happy Mother's Day, including my mom, and thank my mom for everything she does for me and my children. And I especially want to thank my wife, Kate, for everything she does for my children. She's a great mom, but she's been doing a lot more than just being a mom during this time. She's been really making up for the time I cannot be with the kids. So, Kate, thank you very much. I love you very much. And happy Mother's Day to all of our moms, and everybody be safe.